Tim Boundy. I'm task leader for eduCONF. I'm just going to move a few things around on the screen so I can see what's going on here. Okay. Welcome to the eduCONF webinar. I think we've got Jim Budden as well, who's hosting this from Torino. Thank you, Jim, for arranging all this. We've got a few people online. New people keep popping up, but we're due to start now, so I'll kick off. If you want to ask questions at any point, you can put them in the chat window, and I'll try and get to them at the end, or we'll have a few minutes at the end for questions as well. And I can see there's Missy, who is also from eduCONF, is online as well, so he might be able to help me with any questions more technical nature. So this is a very high-level overview of a very high-level overview of eduCONF. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because we are actually planning to do a workshop in about a month's time, and I'd like to invite you all to join us at the workshop if you want to find out more. But this should be enough of a teaser to at least spark a few questions and let you know if you want to attend. So eduCONF, I'm the current task leader in GÉANT 3+. Rui Ribeiro, who was the previous leader, is now deputy leader. We have representatives working on eduCONF from about 6 different NRENs. We're quite active, and we're going through a development process at the moment to try and update the main feature, which is the directory, and I'll get to that in a second. Our goal is a relatively simple one. We want to generally improve the experience for people using video conferencing in NRENs. There is a wide spectrum of services offered by NRENs. Some have full video conference service with live operators, booking and scheduling systems, MCUs, recording, streaming, everything you'd ever want. Others have relatively little and allow the institutions to offer that service for them. eduCONF itself provides an overlay service that NRENs that don't have much of a infrastructure to do with video conferencing could use to supplement it. We can split the work of eduCONF into 4 main areas. We've got the directory, which is basically a list of all the users, or will be. The addressing, which is something else we look after, also do with gatekeepers. Monitoring of the gatekeepers, and the certification service of all the VC systems that register in the directory. We're going to go through each one of these in not too much detail, and then if we have any more specific questions at the end, feel free to ask them. Okay, so starting with the directory, we did a pilot launch of the directory roughly a year ago. We then gathered lots of user feedback, and we're going to be launching a redesign of the registration and certification process in March. This will happen from the eduCONF workshop on the 12th and 13th of March. The basic features of the directory are to allow you to search for other video conferencing systems, either by the city they're in, the institution they're connected to, or the features of the room. We're also integrating with the directory the certification service. So when you register, you have to run your video conferencing system through a very simple certification service so that we can assess its capabilities. The directory is also connected to the monitoring service as well. So I'm going to show you a few screenshots of some of the things we've got. This is the front page of the directory as it stands right now. As I said, we're updating a few things. This should look relatively similar, but we're going to be more tightly connecting this with the new eduCONF web pages on the new GÉANT SharePoint site. So you can see this is the a map. I should point out we don't have very many video conference systems registered as yet because we purposefully haven't promoted the directory until we've simplified the registration service. So there's not a lot of people in there right now. We're hoping that's going to change and dramatically increase from when we start actually telling people about this from March. So there's the directory. Now we have the potential here to share the video. Let me just go back one and tell you a bit more about what kind of things you'd have in the directory here. We're going to have information about the people who registered the systems, the institutions they're connected to, and the video conference systems themselves. Now, one thing about this directory is, of course, that it covers the GÉANT NRENs, or could include information from GÉANT NRENs, but there are, of course, lots of other NRENs that have directories around the world, including within GÉANT. So what we want to make sure we don't create is an island that is not connected to everyone else, because there's really no point in doing that. You might as well try and if you're going to have a directory, you want it to be as wide as possible, and you want to collect information in from other services. So we're working very closely with the other NRENs that also are part of something called the Global Video Alliance. The objective of the Global Video Alliance is to share information between NREN video conferencing directories. So you'll be able to look up video conferencing systems, for example, in some of the Red Clara NRENs in South America, or in Internet 2, or maybe in Australia. So this is just starting off. We're working at the moment on a draft version of how the Global Video Alliance will actually work. But the idea is to make sure that all our directories are not islands standing alone. This is just a diagram describing the GVAR. It's a theoretical thing at the moment, but you can see the idea that multiple NRENs will have multiple directories and be able to access a public version of all this information. I won't spend too long on this diagram because it's still in draft. So, going to certification, which is actually part of the directory now. We're much more tightly integrating the two. I can actually see that Bart is online from PSNC. He's been there doing a lot of the work on the directory and the certification process. I've got some screenshots, but I didn't want to reveal too much. We're going to be, these are just, at the moment, beta versions of the site, so I can't show you too much, but I want to show you how simple it will be. The previous version of the directory and certification asked for people to fill in I think it was 4 pages of information about your video system, some of which was quite detailed technical information that a layperson might not have known. We're really reducing that down, so it's going to be possible for almost a complete layperson to enter information and do a test of their video system. The idea is that, and in fact this is even longer than the one we're working on, this is the simplified form. You can see there's only about 7 fields that we need filled in there about your video system. We've since upgraded this form as well and even further simplified it. The idea now is that we can actually collect much of the information from the actual test itself. So we do the certification test first. And you can see it's an automated process. Once you click certification, we'll provide a number for you to call. You simply type that in on your video conferencing system and press dial. That call then obviously tests the connection with our central eduCONF certification process. That tests the incoming call. You then hang up. We call you back on the number that you called us on. We also, during these 2 calls, collect lots of information about your video conferencing system and use that to populate the form that we would have previously asked for registration. You can then read through this information, confirm it, including your location, and maybe give your phone number and name, and then that's it. So there's very few things to do. We reckon you could do this within about 3 minutes and end up with your system registered on eduCONF directory and with a standard level certificate. So the certification levels, we've got 3 certification levels. You can get the standard level by doing the quick, simple certification process. And that basically tests the minimum of whether you can make a call or not. So it goes standard, then silver, then gold. Silver looks for global dialing scheme compliance. We also need information about the gatekeeper you're connected to. So this starts to involve your institution in this then. We make sure that your video system is then part of an institution. We then do a more fuller set of tests and ask for a bit more information about your system. To get the gold test, we're looking for IPv6 enabled and HD. We need photos of the room, a scheduling procedure, Wi-Fi information, a manual. So this is really a high level. This would be a all singing, all dancing video conference suite that people could rely on. So there's 3 levels of certification there. So going on now to monitoring. I'm not saying much about monitoring because I didn't want to go into too much technical detail. You can find out a lot more at the workshop. 3 basic bullet points. We are monitoring we offer to monitor national gatekeepers within GÉANT. We can run a network polling these gatekeepers to check that they're still alive and check that the GDS status of each national gatekeeper. This means that we can then instantly report any gatekeeper downtime to the gatekeeper manager and also give a picture of the wider European status. So if you ever have any trouble connecting to other countries, you can check the status of their gatekeepers and the GDS in that country. we are going to be able to trade this on a map of Europe showing the status in each country. We move on to addressing. eduCONF right now represents GÉANT on a number of different groups that are dealing with numerous problems to do with the world of addressing video conferencing. I'm sure those of you familiar with video conferencing know that there's numerous different things you can dial and lots of ways of getting it wrong, which makes it easy for a layperson to feel confused. One of the things the directory hopes to do is to simplify this by providing a tested number that you know will work. So the ways that you can deal with H323 addressing, and again, I won't go into too much detail about these because it's not necessary at this point, but eduCONF supports IP, peer-to-peer calling, and supports the, or rather you can register your system, on a directory with an IP address. That of course doesn't enable any call control and doesn't use the gatekeeper network. GDS, the global dialing scheme, that's very popular in lots of countries across GÉANT. It does give you rather long numbers. It uses national gatekeeper network, which we're monitoring, and it works very well at the moment, but some countries have used different formats of dialing schemes to others. And it does mean that there are sometimes failures if the gatekeeper in that country isn't managed to run in the same way as other gatekeepers. So it does have more points of failure there. The EDI number, now this is a legacy eduCONF system. We were trying to create a short, simpler number for every video conferencing system that registers on the directory. Now we're reassessing this now because we don't want to create virtual numbers that are not related to where the video conferencing system is. Moving along, with enum is the next generation of this solves, or this will hopefully address the virtual number system. This is E164 based numbers, but it's dependent on turning them into URIs and then using DNS. So this is a more dependable structure for looking up numbers by using DNS rather than the gatekeeper network. It also is compliant with SIP addressing, so it means that it's got more scalability for the future. Now, lastly, SIP. eduCONF does not currently support SIP. We're working on looking at solutions to do this that are affordable without having to give Cisco lots of money. SIP is DNS based and you get more user-friendly URIs, so it does make it easy for people to dial, but however, some people, it's not always easy to find the @ symbol on your keypad, depending on what kind of video conferencing system you've got. These are also more linked to the domain of organization, so it does add a complexity level there as well. So that's a bit more about addressing about what eduCONF supports. I wanted to end with an advert for our workshop. This is on the 12th and 13th of March. It's in Porto, Portugal. We're going to be taking people through the new directory and the certification process, showing you how you can use this for your NREN to support your local institutions and enable people within the institutions to register on the same directory and then potentially use the directory as your national directory. We're going to be talking about how we can support use of gatekeepers within either institutions or within NRENs. We have a installation package for a open source gatekeeper, and we can support you setting that up. We're going to talk about WebRTC. Missy's going to give us a presentation on how WebRTC can be used by NRENs, the pros and cons, and the state of the technology at the moment. We're going to be looking at some of the security aspects of video conferencing. We've been getting more and more denial of service attacks recently on MCUs and endpoints that are SIP enabled. So we'll look at what we can do, if anything, about that. Most of these topics will also involve a lot of open discussion because we're hoping to attract a lot of people with a lot of knowledge within GÉANT about these topics. And then there'll be an opportunity at the end of the workshop for lightning talks, and we can hopefully find out a lot more about what the other delegates are doing as well around video conferencing. I put the URL at the bottom there. I know that Jim has been emailing lots of people with the URL, so have I. So it's on the Torina site as a training activity if you want to register. I think I should I've done my 15 minutes, spot on. So I'm going to open the floor to questions now. I realise I've been very high level about most of these things, which is what I intended. If you've got really technical questions, we're happy to answer them, but we might have to do that offline. But feel free to ask any questions now in the chat window. And if you want to have a more complicated conversation, I believe I can open your microphone as well and we can hear from you. So thank you for listening. Any questions? Oh, Jim, I see, has put the link to the workshop in the chat window as well. Okay. I can see we've got two people typing something, so I'll hang on a second while they finish typing away. Thanks, Tom. Collaboration outside Europe, sure. Oh, look, and we can't hear from Jim. Oh. So collaboration outside Europe. Yeah, eduCONF is also representing GÉANT on a number of different working groups. One is part of, oh, the name's gone completely out of my head. Tom can probably type it quicker than I can remember it. We're working with the Elcira project, that's it, which is a collaboration between the European Union and the South American countries. So that's Red Clara and GÉANT. One of the tracks of that work is to link the video conferencing services. So Red Clara runs something called Civic, which is a booking scheduling system for the South American NRENs. We're hoping to connect that in numerous ways to eduCONF. We're hoping to homogenize the certification process. So a standard certificate means the same things in both systems, and also share information between the directories so that you can see more people from around the world on the eduCONF directory. So that's one example. We're also working on the Global Video Alliance, as I said, to share more information, and we're also part of the Global Real-Time Communication Forum, which is a group come off the CEO Forum. Their objective is to encourage the take-up of NREN-NUM as a technology for directory lookup services for video conferencing. Okay, I've got a question from Ian. Does the system extend into scheduling for participants? No, it doesn't at the moment. Its scheduling is very complicated. We could get into that. Some NRENs do run scheduling systems, which can instantly launch video conferences. Janet has one and is developing a new one. I know that numerous NRENs are working on this. SESNet are working on one as well. Both of those, by the way, Janet and the SESNet, we'll be offering to other NRENs to use if they want a scheduling system. eduCONF doesn't deal with this, not yet. It's a complexity level beyond what we were going to attempt in this term. No. Thank you, Tom. Elcira, European Latin American Collaborative E-Infrastructure for Research Activities. Catchy. Right. Okay. Any other questions? This isn't meant to be intentional product placement, by the way. I can see Jim's typing something. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, then feel free to contact the eduCONF group. Yes, please do spread the word about the training in Porto as well. Thank you very much for attending.